Hey, Bucs fans. How y'all doing? Welcome to another night of Buc AF. That's Buck as, well, if you're Buck as, you know what the F stands for. Welcome to the show, guys. I'm excited tonight. The Bucs are 2-0. How about that? They are, guys, there's a lot to talk about. They look great. I think everybody's going to, you might argue, you might say, oh, I don't know. What about this? What about that? They're 2-0. And there's a lot of reasons to be excited, lots of reasons to be happy, lots of good stuff to talk about. As usual on this show, we are at one point during the show scheduled to go behind enemy lines or invite the enemy into our home. And we've got Sheriff Joe Baggs, a Rams podcaster, live show. He's great. He's been on one of my shows previously, and I'm excited to have him back. He's a great voice for the Rams, and it'll be interesting to sort of get a peek from him about what the Rams are thinking. What's going on there? What are their thoughts? What are their feelings? What do we need to look out for? Have a little fun little trash talking, and as usual, we will have a good time. So, if you are Buck as, you know what I mean. Then I'm looking forward to hearing from you tonight. You can comment on Facebook, YouTube, or the Twitter machine. You can do it at Bucs Report on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, or at Sports Talk FLA on Twitter. So we are in all of those places, and I look forward to seeing you guys tonight. I want to hear from you. Talk. Let me hear from you. All kinds of goodies to talk about. One of the things I want to open the show up talking about is the person I consider to be the bounce back player of the week. The bounce back player of the week. Week one, they say, is a lie. I think week two is kind of a gut punch. Week one is a liar. Lots of weird things happen in week one while teams are finding their sea legs. But week two is more of a gut punch where maybe reality sets in, or you are, you think, oh, this guy, maybe Aaron Rodgers, isn't so, maybe things are falling apart. Maybe things aren't working. Maybe all the problems in the off season, blah, blah, blah. We saw what happened there. We saw Aaron Rodgers come back, but Aaron Rodgers is not my bounce back player of the week. And some of you may think he deserves it. I do not. I think a different player deserves the bounce back player of the week, someone who returns to their old form, and that is Jameis Winston. There's your bounce back player of the week. Jameis Winston. Where were all you guys who wouldn't shut up after week one? Where are you? Hello? You there? I don't hear you guys. You're so quiet this week. What happened? Listen, man, we told you last week. We sat right here on this show and said, now I get a lot of things wrong and we'll talk about that. But last week we said, it's like your crazy ex-girlfriend. When she's hot, she's great, but when she's not, and that's Jameis. This is Saints fans. We told you when you guys were talking MVP after week one, when he threw for 144 yards, we told you this is what you get with Jameis. There's no week one. He does that sometimes. But then comes week two, and reality sets in, and you get your doors blown off. You get your butt kicked. He throws a couple of interceptions, including just throw something up in the air, and let's just see what happens. So come on, man. Come on. I mean, that's your bounce back player of the week. I wanted to touch on it. And by the way, to who is this? You know what? Whatever your name is. So is this a Bash Jameis Winston podcast? No, but we actually get to talk about what we want to. And if you think you can do better, get your own freaking show. All right, I'm done with you. Now, I mean, the thing is this: there's so much that we've got to be excited about. Now, Tom Brady is on a ridiculous pace. Is this a Tom Brady podcast? Listen, man. Tom Brady is 56 of 86 for 655 yards. He's on pace after 2 games. I get to do that a lot this week, and I love it. Thank you, Antoine Winfield. 2 games. After 2 games, he's on pace for 76.5 touchdowns, 5,483 yards. Let me say that again, because he has 9 touchdowns. He's on pace for 76.5 touchdowns. Now, that's probably not going to happen. Let's all understand that's it. We're getting a little crazy here. But the bottom line is Tom Brady is having a career year. He's 44 years old. He's won 7 Super Bowls, and now he's having a career year. What the heck? I mean, that's a pretty amazing thing. That's a lot to be excited about. And I've got a statistic here that I think is phenomenal. Right now, at 44 years old, Tom Brady has thrown. Everybody stop for a second. Stop and listen. Even you, Die. I want you to stop and listen to this. Tom Brady, in his 40s, has thrown 154 touchdown passes. In his 20s, he threw 167. At this pace, in 3 games, Tom Brady will have eclipsed in his 40s the number of touchdowns that he threw in his 20s. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. At 44 years old. Guys, if you're a Bucs fan, enjoy it. Enjoy it. I mean, okay, so you're just not smart. It's going to be fun talking to you. The Saints did not play good as a whole team. Really? I mean, this is obviously the apologists are out in force tonight. I mean, it's these are the guys who are going to stick by Jameis no matter what. Tomanium is it's probably Jameis one of one in disguise. I mean, it's somebody who's just going to make and make up an excuse. I don't know. But guys, the Saints got their ass handed to them by the Panthers. It's one thing to get beat. Any team can beat any team. It's the NFL. Look, man, it's not a guarantee. If the Bucs go in and play the Jets, it's not a guarantee. Those are real men on the other side of the ball who are ready to punch you in the mouth. And if the ball bounces right, and if they have the game of their lives and you kind of are not having the best game, they can beat you. But if they crush you, like what happened with the Panthers and Saints, that's a sign of trouble. So let me point out where I was wrong. Let me be clear, guys. I'm not an expert. I don't even play one on your internets. Okay, I'm just a guy like you guys who loves the Bucs and gets to sit on here and talk about my favorite team with all of you guys. Where I was wrong is I thought the Saints were going to be better than what they obviously are. Obviously, the Saints are just they're in trouble. They're in trouble. You can't. When was the last time the Saints had a game like that? It didn't happen previously. They're in trouble. Now they may come back and win next week. I'm not saying they're not going to come back and win this week. What I am saying is, guys, there are problems in New Orleans. And let me say, when it comes to the Panthers, Ruh-roh. I'm thinking Riverboat Ron's got them clicking. I'm thinking it's I mean, I promise you this. I live in Charlotte. Okay, I am not a Panthers fan. Okay, I live in Charlotte, and I'm expecting fully to all of a sudden, for the first time since I moved here, start seeing Panthers people running around with shirts and hats and everything. I expect that's going to happen. So I'm fully expecting reality to set. Guys, I think now I'm fascinated by the Panthers. I wasn't that interested in them. Now I'm a little more interested. Now what's with this team? But when it comes to the Bucs, Sports Illustrated and ESPN say the Bucs and the Rams are the top two teams in the NFL. Both of them have them number 1 and number 2 in their power rankings. That's pretty cool to know that both of them have them in that position. The AP, you know how AP does a college football poll? I don't know if you guys know this, but they also do a pro football poll. Guess who's number 1? Your Bucs. My Bucs. Guess who's number 2? The Rams. The Rams. This is going to be a big, fun game. And I will tell you guys, I don't care if you're a Rams fan or a Bucs fan. Do not freak out after this game. Do not panic. I don't care if you're a Rams fan and the Bucs hand it to you. Don't panic. Don't press the panic button. Simmer down, Sparky. Everything will be fine. Just calm down. No matter what happens in this game, it's one game. One game. If you don't believe me, again, go back and listen to those fans after week 1 about the New Orleans quarterback. That was one game. Don't overreact. Learn your lesson from those idiots. Don't be one of them. If the Bucs win by 20, don't think you've got the Rams number. Go ahead and pound your chest. You can pretend a little bit. I'm okay with that. But inside, be realistic and understand. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Dada says, I sound like Aaron Rodgers. There are worse people to sound like than an MVP, I guess. RELAX. Relax. Okay, everybody understand that's how we need to be. We need to understand that it's one game. Let's go beat the crap out of them, and then let's move on and understand that the week after, it's New England, and that Rams game's not going to matter. The Super Bowl from last year doesn't matter right now. Last week doesn't matter. What matters is this week, right now, this game. That's it. That's all. Nothing more. We got a guest I'm going to bring in here. I bring him in on every Tuesday. He is my co-host on the post-game show here on Bucs Report and Sports Talk Florida. Love having him around. Very good friend. You know how people say that all the time? They say, my good friend, but they don't really mean it. I actually mean it. This is my good friend, Mr. David Whitescarver. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, Rick. How are you?
Doing great.
I haven't seen you since Sunday night.
Yeah, it's been a long time, huh? Man, Sunday night. Talk to me about the game on Sunday. Any final thoughts before we move ahead and look to the Rams?
I have two thoughts. Turnovers and penalties. Those are my thoughts. The Tampa Bay Bucs actually lead the league. They're tied with the mighty Jaguars and Jets, 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 with 5 turnovers. They cannot hope to beat the Rams if they turn the ball over 2.5 times. And they're tied with the Eagles with 22 flags in only 2 weeks. That's 11 a week. Now, if they do another 11 penalties and 2 or 3 turnovers, 3 or more for sure, they're not going to beat the Rams on Sunday.
Well, let me point something out. Let me bring up something. What would you say is the most reliable position on the Bucs offense other than quarterback?
Well, I would say Mike Evans, but he has hamstrings. I'm going to go with Gronkowski. He is playing lights out.
Okay. One of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the NFL at covering tight ends, is the Los Angeles Rams. Okay. So what's going to happen? Don't expect Gronk to have a huge game. Expect the Rams to adjust and do everything they can to stop Gronk, which means other people are going to be open. The Rams suck against tight ends. The Bucs just happen to be pretty darn good at tight end. They got this guy, right? They got Gronk. The Rams have a real problem, and I'm looking forward to talking to Joe Baggs about this because, I mean, this is something I find very interesting, is that the Rams, the NFL is a game of matchups, and I'm not so sure the Bucs, Dallas matches up well against the Bucs. I'm not sure that the Bucs don't just match up well against the Rams, and I think that's possible. When you look forward, Dave, initial impression, first thoughts, what comes to your mind about this week's game?
Well, what surprised me is this is the only game in week 3 where you have 2 undefeated teams. Both teams are 2-0. Right. I think the Rams are going to be jacked up. It's going to be 70,000 sellout at SoFi. And I think they're going to be riding on a high to start the game. It's a question of how the Bucs are going to come out, if they can withstand that or use that to their advantage. I think the Bucs are going to, I don't think they're going to pull away. I think it'll be less than a touchdown margin of victory. But I think the Bucs, with Tom Brady at the end of a game, will pull this game out.
The Rams are favored. The Rams came out as the early favorite by 1.5, which does mean that if it was in Tampa, the Bucs would have been favored. But did that surprise you at all?
No, because LA is a big market, and when they set the spreads, they're trying to get 50% team A and 50% team B to bet. So it's not necessarily saying we really think this team's going to win by X number of points. We're just trying to get it so it's 50-50. And since Rams are a high-profile team in the second largest city in the United States, I'm not that surprised they came out as 1.5.
You are speaking my language when it comes to lines.
Now, I do want to point out that it's down to a point. So it's moving in the Bucs direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think people are, I think they're looking at it now and they're going, wait a minute, what? I think they're going, hey, you're betting against Tom Brady? I think people most people have started to finally go, hey, maybe I shouldn't bet against this guy. I mean, in general, I think that's the case. At some point, you just got to give up and go, when's he going to retire? I mean, if I was a fan of another team, that's what I'd be thinking. I mean, holy cow, the guy is on fire, on pace for 76.5 touchdowns after the first 2 games. I mean, that's insane.
Well, really, the defense I must caution that the defenses he played against were not exactly grade A or really grade B for that matter. But it's still impressive that he's leading the league with 9 touchdowns after 2 weeks.
The Rams have had a very good defense with Aaron Donald and all that for a couple of years, correct?
Correct. And Jalen Ramsey at cornerback.
Can anybody tell me how many points the Buccaneers scored against the Rams 2 years ago? I would say I'll wait, but I'm not going to because it's kind of bad radio or internet or whatever you want to call it. The Bucs scored 55 on the Rams 2 years ago when everybody was talking about that vaunted defense and Aaron Donald. Oh my. I remember that was sort of the game that all of a sudden everybody went, what? With Donovan Smith, because Donovan Smith was so incredible. That's right. Tim Witherspoon said 55. I mean, guys, the Bucs play the Rams well. There's a history and a half between these two teams, guys. When I say, I mean, to me, they can't be a rival because they're on opposite coasts and they don't play often enough, although they've played 3 years in a row. They don't play often enough to really be a rival. But if there was a team that I kind of consider or feel like maybe they're sort of a rival or like Philadelphia was for a while, the Rams have been over a long period of time. There's a storied history between these two franchises going all the way back to 1979 when the Rams beat the Bucs in the NFC Championship game 9-0, I believe.
And I still believe if Doug Williams hadn't gotten hurt, they'd have pulled that game out in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So you go all the way back to that. But Monday Night Football game in 2000 is one of the best games I've ever seen in my life. It was phenomenal. Back and forth, this epic battle. It was incredible, phenomenal plays that I remember to this day. That was just such a great Monday Night Football game that the Bucs walked away with. But, guys, the year before, there was an NFC Championship game. And I'm sorry to bring it up, Bucs fans, but I'm going to. It's the Burt Emanuel game, where they changed the entire rule of what a reception is. And if the rule had remained the same, it's very likely that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would have been in 3 Super Bowls. It was a huge play. It was a massive play where originally they called the play complete on the field. They went to replay. All the announcers, everybody said, yeah, it's a catch. It's a catch. Yeah, sure, it's a catch. Yes, absolutely. But to the letter of the rule, they called it not a catch. Yeah, he never juggled the ball. The ball was clearly in his hands. There was never any issue. The ball was in his hands when he came down. But when he came down, the ball did touch the ground, even though he had caught the ball. And that made it an incomplete pass. They had to change the whole rule. It was called the Burt Emanuel rule for a long time. That game kept the Buccaneers out of the Super Bowl. Sean King, if everybody remembers that. And there were some very memorable plays in that game. And that's when they held when the Bucs defense held the greatest show on turf almost scoreless. And that's how the Buccaneers ended up with Keyshawn Johnson. Keyshawn Johnson went to Warren Sapp and said, I'll get you those 7 points you need. And that's how the Buccaneers ended up with Keyshawn Johnson.
Because I believe that game, it was 11-5, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a softball score.
Yeah, it was something crazy. I don't remember what the score was, but it was crazy. So, I don't know, guys. I mean, the Buccaneers have a long and storied history. Some of it good, some of it bad with the Rams. 2 years ago, in an epic game I was just referring to, the Bucs beat the Rams 55-40. Last year, the Rams came back and got the better of the Bucs, 27-24. The Bucs beat the Rams in LA. The Rams beat the Bucs in Tampa, 27-24. But guys, both times Aaron Donald barely on the stat sheet. I don't know what it is, but the Rams bring out the best in Donovan Smith and the rest of the offensive line. There's a lot for us to unpack regarding all of this. There's so much, but I've got a lot to be excited about. And I will tell you my thought process on this game. It comes down to one thing and one thing only when I think about this game, guys. There's one major thing that I think of with this game. I think about all I can hear, all I can picture in their fancy new stadium. All I picture is a knock on the door. The Barbarians are here to mess up your fancy new stadium and those fancy new uniforms. Here come the Barbarians. Here come the badass Bucs. Time to make your pretty little football team in your pretty little stadium hurt a little bit. Time to show you guys, yeah, you don't just get to arrive and announce yourself as being great. And folks, the Rams haven't done anything to deserve it. Respect is earned. You don't have my respect yet. Okay? You don't have my respect yet. Earn it. Then we'll talk. But right now, the Barbarians are coming to visit your fancy new stadium and your fancy new uniforms.
Home of the 2028 Olympics.
And home of the next Bucs Super Bowl victory.
And the 2023 college football playoff.
It's a beautiful stadium. I will say it's a beautiful stadium.
For $5.5 billion. The next most expensive stadium is in East Rutherford. It was barely over $2 billion.
Yeah.
And this is $5.5 billion.
Atlanta was more than $2 billion. I know that. Megatron's butthole was over $2 billion. So I don't know. Anyway, Dave, I'm gonna have to go ahead and call it a night with you, and then we will be back after the game celebrating on Sunday.
4:25 kickoff.
That's right, 4:25.
At that fancy new stadium.
Fancy new stadium that the Barbarians.
I just can't say it as good as you.
Here they come, fancy.
I don't want to say it as good as you either.
I know. All right, man. Have a good one, Dave.
All right. See you Sunday.
Bye. All right. And now we bring in one of the miscreants, nothing but trouble, Matt from Oklahoma City. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing good. I feel like Josh Rosen sighting had at Bucs AF. I'm here. I'm doing doing the cleanup duty.
Well, I'm not sure what that means, but okay.
I don't know. Did you see what I posted in here about the Carolina Panthers?
No, I did not see it.
Okay, well,
that's a little too much for me to sit here and read.
Yeah, and it's a book. But in a nutshell, they're number one defense in the whole NFL right now. Over the Bucs, over Aaron Donald, all of them.
Yeah.
And that's why Jameis couldn't handle it, was because he got ransacked by people in his face, which is everybody knows it's bad for Tom Brady to get rushed. He gets goofy feet. Jameis just gets stupid at some point.
Yeah.
And Carolina's for real. I told you this in the offseason that they were going to be somebody.
Yeah,
and
you were right.
They're coming. They could dry up and die tomorrow, but now
I thought they were a year away, but it's only 2 games. It's only 2 games, but they look like a force to at least be reckoned with.
We have to be concerned with them as far as in the division. I can't put that any. I'm serious about that. I think that we were going to split with them when I thought initially, looking at the schedule, that was a wash. We were going to get 2 of them, but I don't think so now. They look really tight. Yeah,
well, we'll see. I mean, we will see. It's division games are always a little bit different, but I did not see that coming. I was very, very wrong about what was going to happen in that game. I was not
Darnold
remotely
looks like he knows
close.
what he's doing.
What's that?
Sam Darnold looks like he knows what he's doing. Like he fits in that.
Can we finally just call this what it is? The problem is JOKE Jets. Okay, the thing. It's just a fact that the Jets can make anybody look bad. Cleveland was that way for years.
Yeah,
the Jets can make anybody look bad. You got him out of there. Sam Darnold was rescued from the Jets. Was put in a decent situation. Now I know that there were people on the Bucs Report platform that were saying, "Watch out for the Jets this year. They're going to be a surprise." I'm a little surprised.
They were sipping the brandy off camera, though. There's no way they could really believe that.
Well, somebody was saying they think they're going to have a winning record and all of this, and you and I both were like, no. So yeah, I mean it guys. Now look, I get stuff wrong. I let me be really clear. I was really wrong about the Saints. I got the Jameis thing right, but I did think that the Saints would be better. But the Saints as a whole could not do anything. They couldn't stop the Panthers, and they couldn't get anything going against the Panthers.
To their credit, I do believe that the COVID effect on half the coaching staff, because they don't have the assistant coaching tree that we do. They've got one of the old school type. And when you lose 8 out of those guys, that's a pretty big chunk. So I got to give them a little bit for that. However, at the end of the game, if you watched all the press conferences from Sean Payton on down, they all said Doesn't matter if we had the COVID problem. We don't matter how many coaches we had. Nobody did what they were supposed to be doing correctly.
It was 35-0, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a whooping.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I mean, or
I
35-7,
watched it up
something like that.
Jameis so squirrely that he threw that interception where he was about to
He
get
just
sacked.
threw it up in the air and said, somebody run and
tossed it up
try and
there.
go get it. Yeah.
Right. And that's classic J-Boo. He's
Yeah.
back.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And in the meantime, 7 times in his career, Tom Brady's thrown for 5 touchdowns. Twice already as a Buccaneer.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. I
was aggravated in that game. I was doing the Bruce Arians at halftime.
Boy, did y'all hear Bruce Arians go off at halftime. I can't play it because it's a family show, but on the radio, Bruce Arians went off.
Yeah, and he's going to get a check or two, have to send off to somebody. But
from both the NFL and the FCC.
Yeah, everybody's going to be asking for a little bit of a donation this week.
Yeah.
But
wow. I mean, Bruce Arians was mad at halftime, but this is what I love about it. And what's great about Bruce Arians is he's not going to let the team sit on its laurels. Yeah, they were winning at the half, but he was not happy with their performance, and that's going to matter in a game like this week. And,
exactly.
And the week after. Now is when it, when him being hard on them and pushing them, this is when it's going to matter.
Did you say the Vegas line was the Rams by 1.5?
It was 1.5. Now it's down to 1.
See, that's not a home field advantage. Even they're giving a lot of credit to the Bucs.
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
normally you get 3.5.
If the game was in Tampa, the Bucs would be favored by I think it's 4 or 4.5, something like that.
Yeah, you give the home team on an even game 3.5 points.
Yeah, Christopher Cole, by the way, just said, I thought the Jets were going to be in the playoff race. And then I saw that game last week. Yeah, Christopher, no, they're the Jets.
They were selling tickets with all that hype, but no.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I didn't buy it. I know you didn't buy it. We both talked about it pretty clearly that we didn't buy it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
it's funny that I wasn't that far different when the Bucs were going through their down period, where I would say, well, this year's going to be great. We're going to do a lot better. We got 5 wins last year. We're going to get 8 this year, at least 9, maybe a wild card.
Right.
And I sincerely thought that until about the 4th game, and then realized it's the Bucs and we weren't going to get anywhere.
Yeah, you are correct. It was the Miami game. I was confusing the score on, but it was bad. It was ugly. It was very, very bad.
Yeah. Miami lost their starting quarterback to some ribs. I don't know if he's coming back or not.
Yeah, he'll be back. Maybe not. They said they don't know if he'll be back this week or not. But I mean, if you watched any of the game, you can't say, "Oh wow, he's so fragile." He got the crap kicked out of him. I mean, they just didn't block. And
I didn't see it.
Yeah, he just got destroyed. And yeah, if he got hurt, yeah, you're going to get hurt. Any quarterback would get hurt getting put through what he went through. Yeah, I don't blame him at all. I don't think that's a reflection of him.
Back in the Reno days, they just put a flak jacket on him and tell him to get out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. He really got he got crushed. He really got crushed. I saw some comments by some people asking about Richard Sherman or talking about Richard Sherman. I want to talk about that. Bruce Arians confirmed that the Bucs have reached out to Richard Sherman. The Bucs have reached out to talk to Richard Sherman, just to get a feeler and say, you really want to play or you not want to play or where's your head at or what's the deal? Since then, they have signed a different cornerback just for depth. But what they're looking for basically is cornerback depth. Now, I want to point out, if they were to get Richard Sherman, and I want to point this out, you would have Richard Sherman for depth.
That's crazy.
I mean,
that's like it's like the Justice League. You beat up on Superman and Batman comes around the corner.
It's like having Giovanni Bernard for depth. It's like, I mean, it really is. It's crazy when the Bucs got Antonio Brown for depth. But they did reach out to him. My thoughts on whether or not Richard Sherman should come here. Look, I'm not a Richard Sherman fan. And I'm going to be straight up with you guys. I'm not a Richard Sherman fan, going back to the interview with Aaron Andrews on the field when he was screaming at Aaron Andrews. And I thought, this guy's a jerk. I mean, I'm not going to use the word I wanted to throw out there, but I mean, this guy, there's a problem here. There's an anger issue here. There's a problem. You don't go screaming at anybody. And I'm going to say it, call me a sexist, whatever. You don't go doing that to a woman. You do not start screaming at her like that in that kind of an intimidating way. You don't do that. This is back to the Aaron Andrews interview. I'm not talking anything about the event since then. Having said that, now here's where you guys are all going to think I'm a horrible human being. Having said that, for my football team, would I like him at depth? At cornerback? Yeah.
But then you've got to put Mike Edwards down.
No, you do not. It's depth.
Well, they're going to, I don't know,
and Mike Edwards, by the way, he had a great game. He got 2 plays in a row where he got a pick 6, but let's not put him in the Pro Bowl and the Hall of Fame because of 2 plays.
Well, we got one guy on our Super Bowl team that had 2 pick 6s the first time it was ever done for a Buccaneer, and he ended up getting paid off one game.
Right. Well, I understand that, but first of all, it's a Super Bowl. He was a Super Bowl MVP. This guy was the MVP against the Falcons in the second game of the season. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I mean, there's a gigantic difference in those 2 things. But I mean, Richard Sherman as depth. And for people who say, oh, he's not a good locker room guy, I've never heard anything about Richard Sherman being a bad locker room guy.
What I've read is people don't want that West Coast mentality coming into this locker room.
What is that West Coast mentality?
Well,
what does that mean when it comes to football?
We draft from all over the country, don't we?
I mean, we just got Joe Tryon from Washington.
Yeah, so I don't know where that comes from, and I've seen it in a couple of different posts, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Right, that's a silly mentality.
I think the guy's got a veteran's history, and that's the only segment of our whole team really that doesn't have a veteran presence in the locker room.
Yeah,
when you look at it, we've got all-stars plus Gronk in the tight ends. We got all-stars plus AB in the wide receiver room.
Yeah, we
got all-stars across the board in the running back room. You got somebody named Tom Brady in the quarterback room, right?
He's pretty good, by the way.
He's fairly good. And then your linebackers have got some Pro Bowl history behind them. So your defensive backs don't have that. That doesn't mean they're not capable.
Right.
But you would have somebody that's seen everything being able to help you work out some stuff in the middle of the game when you're having problems, like the third quarter, right. When we just stale out, everything went flat.
But that was also the offense. That was the offense also, and only 19 yards on offense in the third quarter, which that's just bizarre. And I don't think that's something that's going to stick around for long. I don't think we're going to have that problem for long.
I think there was a bunch of people with raw butts coming out of the locker room, and they were they were having to get settled back in because of the way they got treated by a coach on the
Pat Riley on YouTube just said that Brady and the Bucs just set an NFL record for 9 straight games scoring over 30 points. The previous record of 8 straight games of 30 was done by the Brady-led Patriots team, both by Brady-led Patriots teams, and the Rams aren't beating the Bucs. I like that. I like that post, Pat. I like that. And I'm telling you guys, it's how I feel genuinely and honestly with your fancy new stadium and your fancy uniforms that just listen, guys, listen, when you go to sleep tonight, I want the Rams to hear it. The Barbarians are at the door. It's time to mess some crap up. And I think this team can do that.
Did you know that in the first week we scored all those points with under 12 minutes of possession on the offense? Is that insane?
Yeah, that is insane. But then again, I mean, stats are funny like that. I mean, if you recall in week 1, somebody threw 5 touchdown passes and only 144 yards.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that doesn't happen either.
right. When you take those 5 touchdown passes and add both of his game's yardage together, it's basically equal to Tom Brady's first half of last game. And
Yeah.
everybody was like screaming MVP for this guy. Let me say it here. Let me say it because we're so used to Tom Brady being good. Let me say it. Tom Brady is on an MVP pace season. Now, I know that's not breaking news, but they don't talk about it because everybody's looking for who else can be MVP. I mean, who else can be MVP? Right now, I don't see anybody close.
Yeah, they don't want anything to do with it. And the pitiful thing is that this team was this good last year and nobody got voted to the Pro Bowl. I mean,
they weren't good all season.
No,
last year they were not good all season. This year they're starting off. They're starting off good. I promise you, Matt, there are going to be more Pro Bowl players on this team this year. Okay,
yeah, I think
you heard me a few minutes ago saying respect is earned.
Right.
Consider it done.
Yeah, you got a point.
Yeah, consider it done. So yeah, I mean, I honestly think that's that's going to happen. Look, the team struggle. Weird things happen early in the season. There's adjustments that happen. You're finding your sea legs. You're getting your balance. You're doing all of that. This team doesn't have as much of that that they have to do because they've been together for a whole year. They've been through the gauntlet. They've been through all of that. And I mean, I will tell you this. I mean, the Rams struggled a little bit last week. I believe it was against the Colts, correct?
Yeah.
Who's better, Colts or the Bucs?
Yeah, that's true. We've got more to work with.
Yeah. Now, all of a sudden,
I know you hate to hear this, but we're traveling west.
That's not as hard as traveling east.
Well, that's probably true because they got to be earlier.
Yeah, traveling east is harder. So, I mean, look, I'm not saying this is going to be an easy game, but what I'm saying is there's a lot for Bucs fans to be encouraged about when you look at this. Look, this vaunted Rams defense hasn't been all that in the last couple of years against the Bucs. Right. And now they got a new quarterback who hasn't faced this defense with this team. They're facing a brand new challenge, brand new things that they haven't had time yet. Remember what the Bucs were like early last year? Mm-hmm. Where the Rams are now with their new quarterback. And remember how the Rams came to Tampa and beat the Bucs early last year?
Yeah,
kind of the reverse situation right now. They got their shiny new quarterback like we did last year.
Well, Matt Stafford is good, but he's not a Brady.
But he's also I'm just saying he's with a new team that is good, but there are going to be hiccups, there are going to be problems, there are going to be things that they have to face, and there are just there are things that there are things you have to account for. Tim Weatherspoon says Kyler Murray would be the closest to Brady in this year's MVP category. At this point, probably yes. At this point, I guess that's the case.
He could get the Michael Vick Award, MVP.
And I saw a scramble by him that was I think it was you who said I just saw him do something that looked like Fran Tarkenton, and then I saw the play earlier. I saw the play later that day, and I was like, oh, that's the play Matt was talking about. Yeah, because it was very much like a Fran Tarkenton play. There's a style of scramble. There's a different style of scramble, and it was very Fran Tarkenton like.
The two defensive ends were they were ready to pound him, and he did a pirouette and left them standing there grabbing at the grass. There was nothing. He was he put them so out of position, it cleared him off by 5 yards.
It was weird. The way you described it, and it was very well put, is that the way he moved side to side, he was never really threatened. They were trying to bear down on him, but the way he moved, they never really got that close. And then he was running back across the field and just stopped. And as he stopped, it was like he stopped planting his foot ready to throw. on just, it was like almost like stop, take a step back and throw so fast. The change in direction happened so fast, so abruptly. And then he backed up and looked as though he had just been standing in the pocket, like he wasn't scrambling. He was set when he
And that right there, what you just described, is the difference between his ability, Mahomes' ability to run around, and somebody like Jameis who can get out of the way of stuff, but he doesn't do that the extra step of squaring his body up, getting his hips right, and throwing the ball.
Well, or Lamar Jackson, who takes off down the field, and he's freaking phenomenal. We saw it against the Chiefs. But
that was a great game.
Yeah, it was a great game. And this is just a different style of scrambling. It's just a different style. It was different.
I just hope.
I just lost you, Matt.
Yeah, I got a call from.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. Just ignore it.
Okay.
Just ignore it. Yeah, not exactly the right time for that to be happening.
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was just for a second there. It cut out for just a second. I don't know what happened.
Apple, when the drop down comes in, you get a break.
Yeah, I would send a text message to them saying sorry live.
Yeah, but I'll do that right now.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you what I am concerned about with the Bucs. So let's talk about, let's be real for a second here and talk about the running game. The running game is a concern. The running game to me, and Bruce Arians, Ray Kennedy brought this up earlier. Best of the Bay, Ray Kennedy from Cup of Ray brought up earlier today. I believe you wrote an article on Bucs Report about the fact that Bruce Arians, in his radio show, said that the reason the Bucs are breaking records for running less than ever is because the Bucs ran too darn much previously. Now, I have to be honest with you, and I have to say, yeah, I get it. That's very true that they ran the ball a lot, but that's not, ball control is not a bad thing. And my concern is not that the Buccaneers are running not enough. It's that when they do run, they're not effective. And that's the part that concerns me. Now, Rojo, to his credit, on a 4th and 1, ran for 6 yards. He did it when he needed to, but all game long, I never felt any sort of, I never felt like the running game was any kind of threat. Similar to last year, that's how we started.
Well, they had a third or it was either the third or fourth down play. They put in the jumbo package with Vita Vea as a fullback.
Yeah.
Lenny was the running back in that.
Yeah.
The line in the center blocked straight forward.
Right.
Vita Vea and his side went to the left or to the right. The quarterback's right. Lenny went behind that. He went to the left, to the open side where the defensive backs caught him right there, and he came up short. If he'd have followed up where he was supposed to be blocking for, they made a little trough. You could see it in the overhead camera position. That there was a line there that I could have run.
So he cut the wrong way. I actually heard the play. I did not see it, and I know that they were saying that there was a pile of bodies that he was trying to avoid.
Yeah, well, that's what it looked like from the rear,
ground level. Right.
Yeah, but they have that camera that's on the
sky
wires.
cam. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that happened to be there, and you could see it. And a running back of his caliber should be able to tell. There was about a 2-foot gap between the two going this way, and Vita Vea and his guys going that way.
Right.
Where he could have stepped in, got around that, and then busted loose because they were tied up.
Yeah.
But he went completely the opposite way to the clean open side, which by design was not blocked.
Yeah.
And that just stopped everything.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of stuff that we weren't doing last year.
But we were at the beginning of the year, and I think we're doing the same thing that we did last year at the beginning of the year. And I think we'll come back around and we'll run the ball again later in the season. But I just don't want to see us take losses like we did last year because we just refused to run the ball.
Yeah,
Matt, I'm going to go ahead and cycle you out, my friend.
Okay.
Thank you for coming on, and tell everybody where to find you.
Well, I'll be on Saturday night at 9 on East Coast time. The Mystery Mayhem Show with me, Stephen Glasker, and Teresa Baxter, the Miscreant. And I'll be hosting the show that week. Got a couple of things to talk about. It'll be a lot of fun, and want the chat people to get involved. Join.
Awesome. Everybody make sure you tune in Saturday night at 9:00 right here on Bucs Report. Thanks,
All
Matt.
right, see you later, Rick.
Have a good one.
You too.
All right, guys. Matt from Oklahoma City. Thank you for coming by. I appreciate that. Well, there's something I want to talk about. I want to talk about a player that that I think deserves mentioning. It's a player that maybe I underestimated their importance a little bit, but Johnny Dean was very, very clear about their importance. And he was correct. All last year, he was screaming about this. And I half listened. I didn't disagree, but I did not really understand the true importance of this guy, and that's Vita Vea. Now, Johnny is absolutely right, even if he pronounces his name wrong. Johnny was absolutely right about Vita Vea. That guy is amazing. He is phenomenal. Vita Vea just, he's most of a defensive line all by himself. The way he collapses the center of the offensive line, the way he just destroys whatever the offense's plans are by just crushing whoever's blocking him and bringing them into the backfield. Now, he does not get a lot of sacks. The numbers aren't as sexy, but that guy is critical. If you remember last year, you remember the defensive performance in the Super Bowl, and we all think, oh my gosh, look at how incredible that defense is, blah, blah, blah. Keep in mind, he was hurt earlier in the year, and we were all saying, yeah, the defense is good, but not like it was in the Super Bowl. Vita Vea is that good. He's that much of an impact player. If this guy keeps on the trajectory he's going, the sky is the limit for him. He's amazing, amazing, amazing. I was incorrect. I'm on a roll with that. I messed up the Jameis Winston thing, the New Orleans Saints thing. I got the Winston thing right. I messed up the Saints thing, and I got to tell you, I underestimated Vita Vea. Johnny was correct. Vita Vea is so critical and key. He is so important to this team. He is so much of a necessity for this team, for this defense to perform like it does right now. If he was out, there would be, I'm not sure they would have won both of those games. That's all I'm going to say. He's that important. Vita Vea is that important. So, I want to give the guy props. I want to say that defensively, while everybody talks about Shaq Barrett, everybody talks about JPP and Devin White and Levante David, I want to give right now, I'm going to say my defensive MVP is Vita Vea. And the absolute man among boys destruction that he levels. He's amazing. He is phenomenal. And that guy carries this defense. Please understand the importance of that guy. He is phenomenal. And they just drafted Joe Tryon-Stroyinka. Bruce Arians on his radio show, on the Bruce Arians show, was talking about the versatility of Joe Tryon-Stroyinka. He said, Bruce Arians said about him that, yeah, we realized we had a good one when we drafted him, but we didn't realize how good. That's refreshing honesty, because what you usually hear is, well, yeah, we knew it. That's why we drafted him, and we got our guy, the same guy we wanted all along, and blah, blah, blah. Look, if the draft was held again right now, I can promise you Joe Tryon-Stroyinka would not be the last player selected in the first round. He's been a beast. He's he's versatile. They play him at different positions. They've even played him at linebacker. They've used him in different spots in different ways. And the fact that Bruce Arians talked about how he's a natural all over the place, how he's incredibly gifted, incredibly talented. Joe Tryon-Sroyinka, guys, here's what's different between the Buccaneers back in the day when they won their first Super Bowl and the Buccaneers now. Here's what's different. And Johnny Dean, again, I'm going to give you props for pointing this out. The Buccaneers are good. When they won the Super Bowl, when they came into the next year, first of all, problem number one, they were satisfied. Problem number two, they were kind of old. They were built on an old base of players, and you had a head coach who wanted him and make it his own and bring in his own people and do it with his own people. So he got rid of the Derek Brooks and the John Lynch's and the et cetera. Now you have a head coach who comes in and make sure that the team's not satisfied. Tom Brady saying, yeah, I'm not playing my best football right now. Tom Brady said he's not playing his best football right now. Tom Brady said he knows he can be better. This is not the mentality that the team had when they won their first Super Bowl. And you got a lot of youth on this team that's going to be around for years to come. This team's not built for a one and done. This is an entirely different situation than what you had with the first Super Bowl with the Bucs. So while I've been confused or I've debated back and forth in my head, you know the fun that everybody has asking. There's always a post. It's like a couple times a week. Which Super Bowl team was better, the first Bucs Super Bowl team or this one? And I always kind of say, I don't know. And because, my heart's drawn to that first Super Bowl team. But guys, which team's better? I'm not so sure that the answer isn't this year's team. Not last year's team, this year's team may be the best. They got to prove it. They have to prove that they're the best. But this year's team has the potential to be the best Bucs team ever. And when you ask Tom Brady which ring's your favorite one, and his answer is the next one, that's not the mentality that the Buccaneers had before. When they finally won that Super Bowl, they were satisfied. This team's not satisfied. This team's not happy. This team's as hungry, if not hungrier, than it was last year. I actually think this year's team is hungrier than they were last year. This year's team wants more. Last year's team, I think, was kind of like most of us. We weren't really sure. We knew the time was coming, but we weren't really sure it was time yet. Now we know. Now we know this is a Super Bowl quality team. You know how we know that? They won a freaking Super Bowl already. So we know that they're a Super Bowl team. But when you take that Super Bowl team and you add Joe Tryon-Sroyinka, oof. Wow. I mean, that's Tom Brady, who's off to this phenomenal start to a season with a healthy knee for the first time in forever, with this kind of chemistry that he has with these guys that he didn't have last year. Keep in mind, he did not have this chemistry last year when they won the Super Bowl. Now, the team's starting to click. Things are starting to go again. This is what we're headed. This is what, guys, this is our freaking football team. And when it comes to wide receiver, you've got AB, probably one of the best route runners that the league has seen in decades. when it comes to consistency year after year after year, Mike Evans. And how much you can count on Mike Evans. And even though I've mentioned AB and Mike Evans, today in his radio show, Bruce Arians said Chris Godwin is the most reliable wide receiver on the team. Chris Godwin, the most reliable wide receiver on the team. Basically said he's the most valuable player on that team. As far as wide receiver. Guys, that's some pretty heavy duty praise. So, I mean, Tim Witherspoon asks, when do I think the rookie Jalen Darden will get some playing time? I don't know. He's not even getting time returning kicks. So, I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like he's about to get on the field. I can't even say your last name. I'm just going to call you Dai. I may be saying your name wrong, but I just like saying it that way. It's because there's no starter at runner. If you're going to have Rojo number one, run him. If you're going to have Fournette run number one, run him. Yeah, I agree. You got to run. We should be doing that. But right now, we're winning. I'm not going to tell you to screw with anything. Don't mess anything up. Don't change it. You don't have to. Just keep doing what you're doing. I believe in what you're doing. I'm good. I don't know. I mean, it to me, guys, this is a Buccaneers team that's flat out lethal. And if the league is a league of matchups, if the game is a game of matchups, and I mean, when a bad team or an average team can match up well against another team, just the way strengths and weaknesses and all of that, guys, this may not be the worst team. This may not be the worst that the Bucs have to face. It may be. We're going to find out. What I am excited about doing, inviting in the enemy into our home. I call him the enemy. It's all in fun, but we get to bring him in here, and I am very excited about doing this. Let's open our doors to our home and bring in that guy, Sheriff Joe Baggs.
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
It takes a little bit of guts, and I'm glad you did it. And you don't have anything to worry about. You know, you've been on the show before. It's friendly fun.
Oh, definitely.
I've got some questions for you. One question that I've asked both of, or like the representatives of the other teams that have come in here, and I want to ask you this: are the Bucs a hateable team? You know how some teams are just they're hateable, like the Patriots were. Are the Bucs a hateable team like that?
You know what? I would say so. Not for me personally, because I've grown out of my hatred phase, I guess. You know, there was definitely those eras where it's like, oh, the Patriots, gross, you know, or Seahawks, whatever. But you know, I've kind of grown out of the Eagles. Yeah, I mean, you got it. But I would say for myself, I've just grown to really just love the NFL in general. So what the Bucs have going on down there is, you know what, I'm just kind of happy that I'm here to see it. Honestly, I mean, they got some really cool stuff going on down there. Tom Brady going down was such a surprise. I did not anticipate that, but
neither did we.
In general, I would say, they're a hateable team, but not from this specific source.
Okay. Well, I mean, I was wondering that because I know some really good teams are teams that you hate, that are just, you know, it's just they've got that whatever it is about them that you're just like, you know, I just can't stand them. I mean, I was that way with the Patriots. Honestly, I'm that way with the Cowboys. When I think of the Cowboys, I'm like, ugh. I don't like the Cowboys. I lived in Atlanta, so it's not fair. But I don't like the Falcons. But
I grew up kind of anti-Denver a little bit. I'm out here in Colorado, so. But
yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, right now I live in Charlotte, And now that the Panthers are starting to do well, I'm interested to see how that's going to play out. Last year, I didn't see, I barely saw a Panthers cap or shirt anywhere. I'm expecting them to start sprouting up everywhere now. Now, let me ask you this. All over the place, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, AP, all of them have the Bucs ranked number 1 and number 2 in the league, and they're going to square off. Nothing but respect for the Rams. There's a long history between these teams. If you're a Buccaneers fan, now you're young, so you're not going to know this, but I can tell you, going back to 1979 when you guys kept the Bucs out of a Super Bowl, and then in 2000 you kept the Bucs out of a Super Bowl.
That was one of the first games that I actually remember watching, and because I was still pretty young at that time. I was only 9, so I was pretty young, but I do remember seeing that catch.
We all desperately want to forget that game. And we can't. It's just stuck in our heads, and it'll forever haunt us. It's that play in our history. That's that play.
I'll be honest, I don't think that I've been on a show regarding the Bucs where I was not asked in some capacity about that catch by Ricky Prohl and whether or not it was a catch. But it's such an iconic
the Burt Emanuel catch. That's the thing, is Burt Emanuel stretching out. Yeah. And it just it's just bad memory. But there's so much history here. And what do the Bucs? I mean, let's just talk straight up, okay? Teams have strengths, teams have weaknesses. What do the Bucs need to be afraid of?
The Bucs need to be afraid of the Rams passing game. Honestly, it's such an improvement over last year. Going from Jared Goff to Matthew Stafford, Rams fans can feel it already. Okay. It's a pretty big difference from what we're looking at this year. I mean, it's hard to explain. It's almost just a feeling, though. And I was talking about this on Ram Showcase, which is my show. I was talking about that the whole offseason. It's going to be a feeling. Rams fans are going to be able to just feel a difference at the quarterback position, and I think that's a very real thing that we're experiencing right now. And then his chemistry with Cooper Kupp, who's playing great.
Yeah, he's lights
right
out
now. Then I think that's really where the impact is going to be felt. The Rams passing game.
Okay, how was the offensive line?
Offensive line is solid. We had one new starter come in. Of course, Austin Blythe was the starter at center last year. He's now in Kansas City. So Brian Allen comes in, who was the 2019 starter at center for the Rams. But other than that, we still got Big Andrew Whitworth on that left spot there. Then we got David Edwards, and then Rob Havenstein still holding down right tackle. He goes all the way back to those St. Louis days. So and then Austin Corbett at right guard. So I mean, this offensive line, there's still. I would say that with that specific front five, they're still getting a little bit of chemistry going, especially in the run game. But overall, I'm really liking this Rams offensive line this year.
Okay. Now I know that the Rams have struggled with one thing on defense, and that's covering tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Gronk coming.
Yeah.
I mean, I am certain they're going to compensate for that. I mean, I don't expect him to have a good game, because I think they're going to make sure he doesn't have a good game, and they're going to make somebody else beat you. But, I mean, what is that just a fluke that they've struggled the first 2 games, or is that, I mean, what's the Rams' weakness? I mean, I can tell you the Bucs' weakness is definitely in the secondary. Here comes Cooper Kupp. What is the Rams' weakness?
The Rams' weakness definitely right now, it's looking stopping the run is a struggle right now. But you're right, it's that the covering those tight ends is tough. I mean, the little glimmer of hope that kind of shines in my brain is hearing that Gronk doesn't watch tape and he just listens to what Brady tells him. That's like a little bit of like, okay, maybe
I would believe that, but yeah,
I don't buy it for 1 second. I think he's just being Gronk out here. But
yeah.
but I would say, that's a struggle for sure. But I think another piece of hope that I have for this game specifically is the Rams' new defensive coordinator. Of course, losing Brandon Staley is a big hit, but Raheem Morris, he knows the Bucs a little bit.
We're a little familiar with that guy.
Just a touch, yeah. So I'm holding on to a little bit of hope there as well. So, I'm a little worried that Gronk is going to be the one that goes off, but also, you know what? Maybe the Rams do overcompensate for that, and it is somebody like Antonio Brown or Mike Evans who just lights the Rams up. It's a lot of weapons to cover.
Well, a couple of years ago, the score was 55-40.
Yeah.
When these two teams played, and they're they're known for defense, and then it was 55-40. I mean, last year 27-24. I mean, what kind of a game do you think we're looking at?
I'm expecting offense in this game. The Bucs offense is looking real nice right now. They look like they're just in sync with each other. And then, like I said, the Rams offense is just kind of cruising along too. We have some issues with the running game. It seems like Matthew Stafford carries a curse with him a little bit about he cannot have a good running game. And now I think we're up to 4 guys that are hurt now. Darrell Henderson looks like he should be able to play. We're kind of hopeful that he'll be able to play, but we're still waiting on updates as the week goes on. And we see the practice reports and everything, but I'm expecting points. And if you've got either of these quarterbacks in your fantasy team, I start either of them.
Okay. Now, the Buccaneers do not have much of a running game, but they can stop any running game. So I'm not sure that's how you're going to be taking on the Bucs. I think the biggest weakness for the Buccaneers is the short passing game. They hitting players out in the flats, quick passes, that sort of thing. That's where the Bucs' weakness lies. I think you try to go deep. I think they're going to be fine because you're not going to have that much time back there with Vita Vea, JPP, and Ndamukong Suh, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, all these guys coming at you. That's a throwing deep, I think, is going to be a challenge, but we'll see. I mean, it's Matt Stafford. It is the longest clip in NFL films history. You're shaking your head. You know the play I'm talking about.
Of course, yeah.
Everybody likes Matt Stafford. After that, I mean, that's not a quarterback I hate. There are some that I really don't like. That's not one of them. But I have such great memories of so many games between these two teams. I mean, there was a game in 1999, I guess the year before it was 2000. It was a Monday Night Football game. It was the year after that first game you really remember. Mm-hmm. There was just one of the best games I've ever watched was a Monday Night Football game between the Rams and the Bucs. And I'm hoping we get another classic like that. I'm hoping we get another, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Here we go. Now, what I do want you to do, and I give you full you're on a Bucs platform, but you have full permission. Absolutely. Give me some trash talk. Let me hear it.
Oh man, I am not good at this part. And it's so difficult to talk trash about this game specifically and the opponent. And
I'll show you how to do it in a second.
I guess it's bad for you too, but maybe not. I guess.
No.
You know what, man? I don't know what I've really got for you here too much.
Listen, why you got, God, man, don't be likable. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Look, no, here's the deal. And the guys who came from the Cowboys were likable, and the guys from the Falcons were likable. You are as well, and I appreciate you coming on here. I will tell you just a fun trash talk I would tell you coming back is this. You got a fancy new stadium. You got some beautiful new uniforms, but you hear that? Knocking on the door of your fancy new stadium? It's the Barbarians. Here we come. And we'll see what happens. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a blast. Yeah. I know you've got somewhere you have to be, so I don't want to keep you too long. I was told, get them out of there. Don't make them stay too long.
I've got about 5 minutes if you want to keep chatting. But we're a lot flashier than we used to be. In St. Louis, it was a warehouse looking stadium with kind of dark uniforms, and Mark Bulger throwing the football, and it was, down and dirty. Steven Jackson.
You also had that Kurt Warner guy in The Greatest Show on Turf.
True, that is true. That was a heck of a time, but it was so short. It was it was just a glimpse.
You were just young, that's all. It felt like forever for the rest of us.
I definitely did not have like that. I didn't have the appreciation at that time of my life. I did not understand what I was watching when I was watching the Rams just dominate offensively. Right. So now I do have that a little bit more, but we're a lot more flashy. Like you said, the new stadium, new uniforms. Yeah. The offense is exciting. We got Sean McVay, instead of Jeff Fisher, which was the St. Louis guy. And it's, I'm excited for this game specifically, but this Rams team this year, I'm really pumped for. I mean, bringing in Stafford, going over, changing from Goff, I think is a massive improvement there at that position. I really do. I'm hoping. I haven't seen anything that I want to say. I can't even think of it offhand. But the Rams next year, though, I'm not sure which opponents we've got. I can't remember right now. I know we got the AFC West, but the Rams actually, NFC gets lucky with 9 home games next year.
Right.
And one of the Rams away games is at the Chargers. So as excited as I am for this year, I think I'm a little bit more excited for next year. I'm already kind of penciling in the 2022 Rams, and maybe the Bucs won't bring all 22 back next year.
You're excited for next year?
Yeah.
Well, I can't say anything because last year, let me say something. I can't say anything because last year when Brady came, we all thought we were a year away. We did. We all, as Buccaneers fans, there were a few that were ready for it last year, but I will say the vast majority of Bucs fans last year said playoffs this year or Super Bowl next year. So I don't know if that's how you're feeling. I can only tell you this.
But maybe we could be the second team in a row to play a Super Bowl in our home stadium.
Yeah. Just remember your number and remember this right here, number 2, and that's thank you, Antoine Winfield. If you remember that play in the Super Bowl. So
it's going to be such a good game, though. I'm really excited for this one specifically. This one, when the schedule came out, that was one of the games I looked for on the list.
Yeah.
Was where do we get the Bucs at? What week do we get the Bucs at? And last year was a very, very tight game, 27-24, like you had mentioned, and that was really before the Bucs really hit their stride.
Right.
So I do take that into consideration, but I also think that the Rams are just a better football team this year than a year ago. So
I'm hoping we're catching you off your stride just with your finding your shiny new quarterback, just like you caught the Bucs last year with their shiny new quarterback. I'm hoping that we have the opportunity to do the same thing, but I expect it to be a great game. And whatever happens, it's been a pleasure having you on here, man. It really has. And if you've got the guts, come on after the game on our post-game show. Either way,
maybe.
No matter what,
I'll be
on our post-game show, and you can either let us have it and laugh at us and all of that, or we'll give you a little bit of the business. But it's all in fun. You know that we actually like you. As a friend of mine, Mark Goodman, always said, love the fan, hate the team.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of how I feel about it is, you are welcome here anytime. You are a friend. Props on you rooting for your team. Love the decorations behind you. Love the set. Love everything you've got going there. That's awesome. And I hope we kick your butt. So have a great night.
Back at you, man. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk with me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your insight. And maybe we're hateable, but we're going to win anyway.
Maybe. Go Rams.
Have a good one, my friend.
You as well.
Take care. All right. That is Sheriff Joe Bags. That's inviting the enemy into our homes once again, as we've done every week, and we're going to continue to do throughout this season. And I love doing that. I love getting their insight, and we can see a little bit about what's going on with their team, because let's face it, we don't get to follow them regularly. We catch the latest and greatest, whatever the flashy, headlines of the moment are for other teams. And this gives us some real insight into how the other teams are feeling and what's going on. But that was a lot of fun. And he's a great guy. It's the second time he's been on, and I really appreciate him. and the time he has taken twice. Again, I love it. Twice on on one of my shows, he's taken the time to come and visit. So we've got a big game that we're facing this week against the Rams. Guys, I want to hear your comments. Any last final comments that you guys have? Let me have it. Let's hear it. I know. I'm sorry about that. Pat Riley says, ask him if he feels Stafford is a clutch quarterback or just a prototypical strong-armed quarterback. I think he pretty much made it clear, Pat, that he thinks this is a difference maker for the team. I think he was pretty clear, letting us know what his thoughts are about that. So we will see. Tim Witherspoon says, sorry to see Mickens injured, but would be happy to see Darden get some playing time. Yeah, I mean, the way Mickens has been playing, I'd rather just keep that going. So we'll see. Bucs Skull Gang in the house. Any update on Richard Sherman news? No, it's just they've said they reached out to him. They didn't even say there were any serious talks. That's something that I see people posting online. The exact phraseology they keep using is the Bucs are in talks with Richard Sherman. No, they're not. Not that we know of. The Bucs are not in talks with Richard Sherman. They reached out and said, "Hey man, how's it going? You interested?" And it doesn't seem like it went beyond that phone call. So yeah, they reached out and made a phone call, and that's about the extent of it. But they are not, as far as anything we know, everybody, there's no imminent news about Richard Sherman coming to the Buccaneers. It doesn't seem like that's on the verge of happening. It doesn't seem like you're going to wake up in the morning and find out he's a Buccaneer. It's funny just to know that the thought is there that if they sign Richard Sherman, it's for depth. That's a heck of a storyline, isn't it? For depth, you get Richard Sherman. I'm not a huge fan of the guy personally, not merely because of the latest incident that happened with him, but for going back prior to that, I am not a huge fan of the guy. But you know what? Antonio Brown got his history as well, doesn't he? And he's been a model citizen. He's been phenomenal. And you know what? People make mistakes. Give him a shot to turn it around. I think that's important. So I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I want to thank. Hold on. Buck Skull Gang in the house says, do I think the Bucs will trade OJ Howard before the deadline? Now that's a whole thing. I'll get into that real quick. Do I think that the Bucs will trade OJ Howard? Look, again, there was buzz about, the Bucs are talking with, I forgot who it was. I think it was Jacksonville, about trading OJ Howard. But, and where there's smoke, there's usually fire, but it doesn't seem like there were serious talks. It doesn't seem like that's something the Bucs are in a hurry to do. And I get it. I think they're basically saying, we got a good team that won a Super Bowl last year. Why screw with it? And who can blame them? Who can blame them for taking that point of view? They may have made a phone call and said, you want to give us, and they probably asked for too much. Why not? But really, I mean, I think that's what it would take. Pat Riley says the Bucs are finalizing an agreement with Sherman per Brady. He will be sharing a room with Antonio Brown upstairs of Brady's house. They will have bunk beds like in the movie Step Brothers. That's awesome. Thank you, Pat Riley. Wow. Christopher Cole says, did he have any kind of head injury? He's an NFL player. Of course he did. I mean, that's about all I know how to say about that. But I think that his temper goes back prior to that. You saw it with the Aaron Andrews thing. It was just in a different environment. Anyway, guys, I'm excited about this season and where things are going. I cannot believe Tom Brady. Again, keep this stat in mind, guys, because this to me is one of the craziest statistics that I've heard about Tom Brady. I just think this is phenomenal. I'm going to leave you thinking about this statistic. In his 40s, Tom Brady has thrown 154 touchdowns. In his 20s, he threw 167 touchdowns. He is only 13 touchdowns away from throwing as many touchdowns in his 40s as he did in his 20s. And at this pace, that's 3 games. 3 games away from that. That's insane. This guy, as David said, David Whitescarver, my co-host on the post-game show, on the Bucs Report and Sports Talk Florida post-game show, as David said, Tom Brady seems like he's finally hitting his stride. That's pretty crazy. Thank you guys for being here. All of you. Pat Riley, Buck Skull Gang in the house. Christopher Cole, Tim Weatherspoon, as always. So much love for you guys. Whatever your last name is. You're awesome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sticking with us for the show. I appreciate it. I hope that you'll come back. I hope you'll be here next Tuesday night. And I hope you'll see us on the post-game show right here on Bucs Report. I want to thank the rest of you. Albie, thank you for being here. And you guys, if you would do me a favor and please hit the share button and the like button. Evan Phillips, thank you. If you guys would do that, I would appreciate it. It means a lot to this show for you guys to do that. All of you, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of this. Thanks for joining the fun and the festivities and the shenanigans and the trouble and whatever the heck else we do around here. And if you're Buc AF, well, you know what the F means. If you are, you're home right here on Buc AF. Thanks for being here, guys. Go Bucs. Go Bucs. Go Bucs. Have a great night.